Welcome back, friends. It is Lauren the Soap Witch, and I am ready to get creative with some resin. As always, remember safety first when working with epoxy resin. Always wear your safety gear and work in a well-ventilated area. Alright, so this is me completely starting over. I don't know about completely starting over, but it has been 3 years since I have touched resin, at this time of this video. And I wanted to take this time to practice and try to see what I remember, what I've forgotten, and anything in between. So that was the purpose of this little adventure, if you will. And so the video is, unfortunately, the angle is kind of trash, so let me just apologize ahead of time. I had some issues with my tripod and had to scramble because it didn't start acting a fool until I had already stirred up my first cup of resin. It doesn't matter. I was warming up my resin, that's what it was, which is another tip. You want to warm up your resin just in some warm water. I put both bottles in there, A and B part, for about 15 minutes because it helps make the pour easier, more fluid, or whatever you want to call it, and you also get less bubbles while you're stirring. So I also pour part B in before part A because the manufacturer recommends that. They say it just makes for an easier combination and easier pour. You will notice that mine is yellow because it is very old. I am literally making this for practice. So I didn't want to buy new resin just in case I decided, I don't like it after all, and I didn't waste money on buying 2 new bottles of resin. So yeah, that's why it looks yellowish. And so I measure this by volume. This particular one has a 1-to-1 whatever you want to call it, relationship. So it's equal parts of A and B. So I stir pretty slowly, or just not fast. I don't do a fast, vigorous stir. They recommend that you do just kind of a slow, even stir because that also kicks up less bubbles, and I have found that it doesn't make it take any more time to complete. It takes about 6 minutes. So usually when I start pouring, purring. Am I a cat? Oh my God. Pouring. I just before I start stirring, actually after the pour, I put a timer on for 6 minutes and I start stirring. You want to make sure that you scrape the sides of your container and the bottom. I fast forwarded through the majority of the stirring, so you didn't have to actually sit through 6 minutes of boring stirring. My ADHD just can't take it because I don't want to sit through it either. So making sure you scrape the sides and the bottom, and then continuously stir until it's a nice, clear, cohesive consistency. You don't want to be able to see any separation. So I'm going to dump some glitter in there because that's who I am. You know me, you're going to get to know me if you don't already know me. So I dumped what I felt like was a nice amount of glitter, not too much, but you're going to notice it's there at the end. So I'm just going to give that a nice easy stir, and I want to put my silicone mat down on top of my what is that called, leveling board. That's what it is, because I think my whole house is actually not level. And so I use a leveling board to try to keep it more so. So I used to be much more adept at knowing how much resin I needed for a product. I've done lost all that touch. So I had to go in and do another cup of resin and stir that up. So that's what you see me doing there. So I would have enough to completely fill these molds. So the small squares, of course, got to add the glitter, right? Okay. So the small squares are the coasters, and the larger one down at the right hand corner that you can see part of is the holder, and it all comes together as a set from Let's Resin. I'll put a link in the description below. So this is just me completely filling up the molds. So to my disappointment, I still didn't have any left. I am so out of touch, y'all. Anyway, so I decided to do alcohol inks because I love alcohol inks. I kind of like all the coloring, so I'm not gonna lie, but I just decided to go with alcohol inks for this one, and I decided to go for purple, green, and a gold metallic. So I wasn't sure if I had enough green but I had a backup plan for that just in case I didn't. I have a ginormous bottle of white, so you usually see me pulling out a pipette and going over the alcohol inks with the white. See, that was me running out of green. So I just went in and continued to add my colors. The green on the outside, gold, and then purple on the inside. And then I'm going on top with the white because that's just how you do alcohol inks. Alright, so since I had run out of green, my backup plan was to go in with blue and yellow because that's what that makes. Guess what that makes? That's what I meant to say. So anyway, going in with blue, which I'm clearly running out of that too. And I was looking at the yellow like this. Why does this look orangey? Whatever, kept going because I didn't have no choice. And then completely filled in the rest of the colors that I hadn't run out of. Let the cool time lapse thing happening over on the right there as I stir up yet more resin because I really wanted to make some earrings. That was sort of the point of me coming back to this, was I wanted to be able to have some more earrings to offer, but I do want to have some other whatnots, as my BFF would call it, because I think those are fun to make too. So I went ahead and stirred that up, added my glitter, and pulled out my earring molds. So when I fill up really tiny molds like earring molds, I use it's a popsicle stick. That's what it is. I should write a script. No, that would be less fun. Let me just make a fool all over this voiceover anyway. So I'm gonna take my popsicle stick. That's me trying to find a way to balance out this mold because it was curving a little bit because it's old and it hasn't been used in 3 years. I take my popsicle stick and I just use it to push the resin around and make sure it's filling up all of the spaces, or it would look like you have a hole in your finished product if there's like a bubble or a spot that wasn't filled in. So I just put some resin on the popsicle stick and kind of lay it or drag it through the tiny mold so that it will fit, in the shape of whatever it is I'm trying to make. So that's what you see me doing with the popsicle stick. And then I'm just going in with alcohol inks here too. Something I did forget, okay, along with how much resin to mix for a whole project, was that alcohol ink increases the moisture level in the resin and can keep it from fully curing and getting hard. 2, it also increases the volume of what's in the mold. So I made several of these overflow, not realizing that it was going to add to the volume of what was in there. That's okay though. We can always fix some things we can fix. We can't fix it. It probably won't. Some of them won't cure. Like, it's mostly the earrings that I had that problem with, where it was probably just far too much alcohol ink for that little bit of resin, was really what it was. So I let that sit not quite 24 hours, but long enough. I usually put a little heater in front of my pieces to speed up the curing time because I don't have patience to let it sit for 24 hours. So I demolded it. This is the next day, mind you, because it's the next day, it's just not 24 hours. Okay, stop mumbling and tripping over yourself, could you? So that's the result of the holder, which I thought looked pretty cool. It's got a galaxy type look. That wasn't really what I was going for. I don't know what I was going for. I just dumped the colors in there and like to be surprised. So that's the way the holder went. You can see the sparkle definitely in the sides, but you can see it throughout as well. And so I'm just going to pull out the next coaster. And that turned out, I love how that turned out. And it looks like it's just an explosion of color, kind of spacey. And I like how the gold seeped through there to give it, that look. I really like, it almost reminds me of soap. I think I've said that before, how even though I put the alcohol inks in there in the same kind of pattern and way, they all have their own kind of unique look, and you never know what it's going to turn out like until you demold. So this one is one that overflowed. You can see how there's some excess on the ends, and to fix that, I just take a pair of scissors and cut it off and make sure I don't cut into the piece, the finished part that I want to keep. And I just gently just cut along the ends, carefully make sure I don't cut into the actual piece, and then just get those edges off, I feel, to make sure that I've gotten everything I want to get off. And I'm just going to work my way all the way around until I cut off all the excess that I don't want there. And see, now it looks all cleaned up and pretty, like it never was. So yeah, that was something I did remember. Yeah, because I was like, I'm gonna get this off. Oh yeah. Anyway, so and this is the final one. I think they turned out pretty well. I'm happy with the overall look. These actually did cure all the way because this is an actual week later. I did these an entire actual week ago. So with the puzzle pieces, if you've ever seen any of my hair videos, you've seen them. Not this, obviously, this one, but you've seen the shape. And so sometimes the holes where the earring hardware is supposed to go will be covered in like resin or colorant. So I have a little skewer right there. You can take a toothpick or anything and just poke a hole in there. You don't want it to harden with that on there, so I poke it out while it's still kind of soft and fresh to make sure it's just easily removable. So this one overflowed quite a bit. These are the smaller puzzle pieces I was trying. I think they're a little small for me, but somebody else might like them. So I had the same issue with that one as far as the hole being covered. So I just did the same thing with the skewer, just stuck it in there, and I just pull out the parts that are covering the hole, and so they'll be ready for when I'm ready to put the hardware in. None of these are going to get hardware because they were all soft. They were all too soft. They still haven't hardened fully, but that's what practice is for. Those were the ones I had just extra resin and I never want to waste it, so I always try to find somewhere to put it. So I just found some extra of the large size for the puzzle piece molds and just dumped it in there, and I wanted a completely different color than what I had been doing, so I just went with like yellow and a pearl metallic, and that's what those ended up like. But all the rest of the earrings were just like a purple and gold because I decided to stick with 2 colors. I think maybe I'll stick with just far fewer drops and let them kind of disperse in the resin first and then add the white, just to see if that makes a difference, because I want it to be full of color, but I don't want it to be so much color that it causes the resin to be soft and unable to fully cure, because that's just no good. So I think this is the last pair of earrings to pull out of here. Yeah, this pair I didn't even have to do anything with. This one were the ones that came out perfectly, and because they weren't so overly filled, they firmed up the most, I think. Well, the other circles did decently well too, actually, I think. So yeah, that is it. This is all of the pieces that I completed. I feel like this was a really good trial run for my first time in 3 years. I really did enjoy myself, so I did order some new resin, though it's not here yet and I'm still practicing, so you're gonna still see the yellow stuff in the next video. But again, it's just for practice. I'm not looking to sell any of this. The coasters I'll probably use in the house. The earrings will probably not be used because they're too soft. But I really enjoyed making this product. Well, that's not what I mean to say. I really did enjoy just this process and trying this out, and there will definitely be more of these videos in the future. If you thought it was cool or if you got something out of it, please consider subscribing to my channel and liking this video, because it does help out a lot. And if you'd like to see anything else or have any questions, please feel free to comment below. All right, I'll see you in the next one, friends. Thank you so much for watching.